Hey everyone, it is time to talk about Mike Flanagan's latest, Midnight Mass. The series focuses on the residents of a place called Crockett Island. It's an isolated island community that sees the arrival of a new priest who's sent to fill in until their own Monsignor recovers. Soon after Father Paul's arrival, miraculous things start happening. While many of the Crockett residents find themselves inspired, making them especially eager to return to the church, there are others who are suspicious of the curious events unfolding and have concerns about what they might cost the community in the end. I liked Midnight Mass a lot, but be warned, it does start off pretty slow. The thing is, though, I appreciated how the pacing gave me the opportunity to just live on Crockett Island and live with the characters in this community via some quieter moments that offered up a pretty clear and layered understanding of the residents' history before the show tipped over into the more horror-heavy material. Another thing to be aware of, Midnight Mass is extremely monologue-heavy between Father Paul's homilies, the frequent scripture recited, and many, many lengthy speeches. Really, this thing is kind of like monologue after monologue. And yes, I do think it was a bit much, but Midnight Mass manages to get away with it due to how well all of that material is tied into the unfolding mystery, and also because Flanagan truly has some of the best delivering those speeches. Hamish, Linklater, and Samantha Sloyan in particular, they floored me with their work in this. Linklater is a one-of-a-kind performer all the time who just gives every ounce of himself to every role that I've ever seen him in. When he says something, he says it with such conviction and also, I would say, an intoxicating warmth in this particular role. So even with suspicions sky high as everything plays out on Crockett Island, it is quite easy to be swayed by his words or at least understand why other characters are. And Sloyan is just a pitch-perfect, love-to-hate type character as Bev Keane, the right hand to Father Paul, who is just very devout and by the book. Sloyan is another one who approaches her dialogue in Midnight Mass with maximum conviction to the point of it being pretty frightening. I was both disturbed and fascinated by the character's ability to basically warp almost every bit of scripture just to suit her needs and her agenda. Going down the roster here some more. Kate Siegel and Zach Gelford make up a pretty significant chunk of the show's emotional core. Gelford plays Riley, a Crockett resident who makes it off the island, finds success, but then drives drunk and kills someone. After serving time, Riley returns to Crockett, basically with no purpose whatsoever. And while I do think that that character can come across as maybe a little dull at times, I do think that ultimately Guilford does a pretty solid job of conveying the never-ending ache that Riley walks around with due to the guilt over what he had done and also his awareness that he pretty much obliterated any chance he had of living a dream. Siegel's Erin is Riley's high school sweetheart. She also makes it off the island, but winds up returning pregnant, and she takes the job that her mother once had on Crockett. She's working as a teacher. There is most certainly a tinge of sadness to Erin's current existence, but unlike Riley, her baby on the way encourages her to refocus and find a new way to build a happy life. And I think the pairing of the two of them together so often and the differences between how they approach things is what makes their relationship so interesting. There are certain decisions that these two characters in particular make at the tail end of the season that, are a little questionable and don't fully come together, but I don't know, I would say in the context of the show, those more questionable choices felt pretty justified due to past trauma, current horrors, and also just the messiness of people responding to a flood of emotions. So now on to Annabeth Gish's character, Sarah Gunning, who was definitely the member of the ensemble that I connected with most. Again, I do think there is a very realistic messiness when one is trying to navigate such an extreme situation like this. But you all probably well know at this point, I am a very logic and fact-driven thinker, and that is also what Sarah is. So watching her hold tight to that while the mystery is unfolding, while she has to manage the emotions that come from what her mother is going through, the combination of all of that just really hit me pretty hard and wound up being one of the most engaging elements of the show for me. Also, one last cast shout out here going to Matt Biedel, who plays Sturge. He is the Crockett resident who works the docks and maintains the boats. It's not an especially big role or a very dialogue-heavy role, but he's got such presence. It feels like Sturge is involved in everything, and I think maybe because so much of the ensemble is given speech after speech, it just became especially striking that he's able to achieve as much as he did with the most minimal amount of dialogue of the bunch. All right, let's score Midnight Mass now. I'm going to give it 4 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimovie scale. I do think that Midnight Mass is going to wind up being a more polarizing Flanagan series. The scripts just aren't as refined as the others, and the show also doesn't spark the same kind of character-viewer connection as shows like Hill House and Bly Manor. It's also very light on the nifty camera tricks, something that I think suits this material, but it's also something that I missed. But Midnight Mass still manages to spark this obsessive quality. Even when things were playing out slower than I would have liked, I still found myself leaning in more and more, hanging on their every word, and just extremely eager to dissect every beat of this story. Midnight Mass does very successfully offer up a sense of the normal day-to-day life on Crockett before things slowly start to break down, and then the situation just descends into absolute chaos. I was riveted by what the mystery wound up being, and I was also quite struck by how Flanagan approaches this particular predicament from so many different angles. You've got characters with hearts of gold, others who lose their way, and then ones who are just plain old bad and extremely misguided. I think that the variety there made the world feel extremely full, and it also proved to be a very powerful way to explore familiar human truths and challenges through this scenario. So that is where I'm going to leave you on Midnight Mass. When you do check it out, you know what I want you to do. I want you to hit the comment section. Please tell me everything you think about this new Netflix series. Before I let you go, Patreon shout out time. A wonderful, wonderful group of 6 right here. They are Efren, Justin, Caleb, Steven, Rosa, and Javier. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the 6 of you for being continued supporters and, making such a huge contribution to the Slack community and also to my ability to keep all of this stuff that I love so much up and running. So thank you. Also, big thanks to everybody out there for watching this review. Like and share it before you leave, and I got more coming your way very, very soon.